So what goes into a really great ICP? We're going to talk about that today. Now, most companies, when they are defining their ideal client profile, are are thinking about firmographic information. Most companies have at least some form of firmographic information. It's a good place to start. This is the kind of stuff that you're going to get from a Dun and Bradstreet type of data vendor, a bunch of other data vendors out there that will give you things like industry, revenue, number of employees, geography, locations, languages, whether they're public or private. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a great source of this information as well. And this oftentimes is where a lot of companies stop their ICP definition. There's value here. It's important, but really it's not going to, it'll whittle down your TAM to a slightly smaller total relevant market, but this information doesn't really tell you if somebody is a good fit for your product or service. So before we talk about the other layers, what is the purpose of an ICP? Well, an ICP should tell you what kinds of environments exist within an account that would cause them to be fertile ground for your offer, for opportunities for demand that you can fulfill. So if you think about that, this firmographic information is somewhat important, but as you go a layer deeper, for a lot of products, depending on what you're selling, the kinds of technology that the company is using is relevant to at least understand if it's fertile ground. So technographic information is essentially what technology is the company using. And this can be important even if you are not yourself selling technology. So if you are selling a technology platform, knowing if they're using a competitor or maybe using, if you have an enterprise level product and you know that they're using an entry level product, knowing that there's an opportunity to upsell them to what you offer instead, or knowing, for instance, when contracts are up with their existing competitor, whatever. Right? So that can be useful information, or if they're using related integratable technology. So, for instance, if they are using Salesforce and you are selling a marketing automation platform that integrates with Salesforce, it's helpful to know, okay, they're already using Salesforce. It means that the tools that they have in place, I can play with. You can also disqualify them if they have a CRM that you can't integrate with, right? The third area where technographic information can be useful, though, is knowing what kinds of investments they are making, because it might indicate some information about what's important to them. If they're investing heavily in a lot of marketing technology, a lot of sales enablement technology and sales tools, probably means that they're going to be more open to a conversation about, say, go-to-market strategy or other marketing tools or other ways to improve the efficiency of their marketing, because they're already investing in those kinds of tools in those areas. If they aren't investing in any of those tools, that might tell you that maybe they aren't such fertile ground for that kind of an offer, though. And then there are two different categories of technographic data. There's public technographic data that is essentially looking for fingerprints that exist on a website. So, there are going to be things like tracking pixels and stuff like that on a website that would indicate sometimes like what CRM they're using, what marketing automation platform they're using, or sales engagement platform. It also tells you, obviously, about any sort of analytics tools, ad tracking, and certainly you can tell what kind of content management solution they have. Are they using WordPress? They're using something else, right? But there's a lot of private technical data that isn't available from just looking at their website. And so this is stuff like what networking equipment are they using, or what HR platform are they using. There's no public signal oftentimes that would indicate that. And so different data vendors, what they do is they look for other hints and signals about what technology might be used. For instance, they would look at recent job postings for network engineer positions to see what kinds of certifications are they looking for. Does the job listing indicate that you need to be familiar with XYZ Cisco switch series or router series or whatever, right? That would indicate that they probably have that technology installed. And so that's one way that these data vendors get that data. But also sometimes they're just surveys. They just simply call them up and ask, what tools are you using? What technology are you using? So there's different kinds of technographic vendors out there. A lot of data vendors actually license this information from a couple of key vendors. So really understanding what's available is important. But for sure thinking about what kinds of technology would indicate that there is fertile ground, or maybe the opposite would indicate that it's not fertile ground for your product. But then we look at Exegraphics. Exegraphics is something that is probably a new word for a lot of people, and it is coined by a company that we work closely with called Rev. You can see more about them at getrev.ai. And Rev is a platform, an AI platform that helps to build ICPs. And what they help you do, they do a lot of things, but one of the things that they do is they help you to see a personality type for an account, just like you would a personality type for an individual person on the B2C advertising side. So some kinds of personality traits might be, are they an early adopter of new technology, or are they a late adopter of new technology? Obviously, different scenarios, different sides of that coin are going to be fertile for different kinds of companies. If you're selling a very tried and true solution that conservative companies tend to really like, and that maybe isn't as innovative as other things that are out there, you're going to be looking for late adopters of technology, maybe not early adopters. If you're selling a very innovative solution, you're going to want to look for early adopters, right? So they use a lot of different data points to try to determine, are they early adopters, late adopters? And they have about 300 different exegraphic profiles. Here are just a few of them here. Things like, are they high, medium, or low on things like logistics investments? Is logistics an important piece of their business? Is security an important piece of their business? Do they have a lot of marketing complexity? Where do they fall, high, medium, or low on marketing complexity compared to their peers? So this information helps you to take a lot of disparate data and information and be able to identify some personality traits about the account. So very, very useful, helps you to understand if there's fertile ground or not at an account. And then the last piece I wanted to take a look at is events. So when I talk about events, what I mean are things like, who got new funding, who hired a new C-suite executive, who got acquired or made an acquisition, right? Who's hiring developers, who's hiring sales, all of those kinds of short-term event data. So it's not necessarily, firmographic data doesn't change a whole lot. Technographic data changes a little bit more frequently, but still not super frequently. Exegraphic data probably moves pretty slowly. It's probably going to be pretty consistent year to year. But event data can change month to month, quarter to quarter, half to half, year to year for sure. And this information is it helps you to understand if they're hiring a lot of new salespeople, that might make it more fertile ground for sales platform technology or sales training, for instance. If there are a bunch of layoffs and they're closing locations, that might indicate that they are looking for solutions for cutting costs or making things more efficient, for instance. So, or it might tell you that, they're maybe not a good fit, right? So again, these can be positive or negative traits on your ICP definition. Now, one thing that you're not seeing on this screen right here is intent data. And intent data is very, very popular. We love using intent data at Intelligent Demand, but we do not generally believe that it belongs in your ICP. And there's a very good reason for that. Where we think it does belong is in the tiering, segmentation, and prioritization of your accounts on your target account list, but we don't put it in the ICP because intent data fluctuates literally from week to week and is not necessarily an indication of fertile ground for your product, but really more about active demand. So what we really want to be looking for is defining in your ICP what makes fertile ground for your product or your solution, and then using intent as one of the many signals that we use to prioritize accounts within that fertile ground list, that target account list, or at least your total relevant market list. We're using intent to prioritize those accounts. So we're going to talk more about intent on a different video, but I wanted to emphasize that it is not here in your ICP. These 4 levels, firmographic, technographic, exegraphic, and events, tend to be the things that are most relevant for your ICP. At least the first 3 events are sort of a bonus, and sometimes don't fit in the ICP, maybe do fit in your tiering and segmentation and prioritization as well. They sort of straddle a little bit. So anyway, that's what a really great ICP looks like. If you would like to go deeper on, how to implement any of these pieces, hit me up. We have some free workshops that we can work on together that will help to identify which pieces are missing and point in the right direction on some of these. So would love to chat about that.